Dun 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 dun. Hello. Javon, we should do more of the next mega tier. This might be the final mega tier. The next tier, as we discussed, is going to be what we call Big Boy Bathwater. And it will be exactly what you assume. I think we are limited to, how many bottles did we get? 40. This is going to be a very big tier. If you can come up with a crazy tier that's even higher than this one, which I think will be like $2,000 or something, that is just stupid as hell, that you think some people would actually do, you tell me and I'll make it happen. We're not doing jizz. There's no cum item. But for now, this is the last mega tier that we have on the list. It will go live on Friday. They're not going to see you. It's going to just go whoop. Any chances for more languages? I don't think so. I'm not sure, though. That's definitely a Javon thing. How did I get such a pretty lady to marry me?
Everybody's wondering.
Her sister was my boss at Blockbuster. And when she came in, I thought she was very cute, but she was very young. I just graduated high school. Her sister's was basically making fun of me, but saying that oh, my sister likes you, blah, 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 blah. And then I put it out of my mind. And then some time passed. Her sister, my boss, said, all the guys that she dates are jerks. You seem like a very nice boy. Can you just take her out and show her a good time? And I did. And we went on 2 dates and it was super cool. But again, she was very young, so I wasn't going to date her. And
was it the most fun you ever had in your life?
It was very fun. The reason why I didn't continue to date her, because I knew that I liked her and I thought she was very fun and I didn't think there was any possibility of anything in the future. So I just put it out of my mind and I got back with my ex-girlfriend, who was fucking terrible. But eventually, yeah, no, she's bad.
She is mad about that.
No, yeah, she is terrible.
Then where would Mama be?
Eventually, I got in contact with her again after I had broken up with my ex-girlfriend. And the rest is history. I had a connection with her right away. It was just one of those things where it's like, oh, this isn't going to happen, so whatever. But eventually it did.
So the answer is, get them while they're young.
Get them while they're young.
Groom them.
What I believe how I got her was making fun of people in public. Not in front, not to the people that I'm making fun of.
We drove by this football field and he yelled, "Hey, football!" I thought that was hysterical.
Yelling out of my car at people, buying really dumb, weird stuff.
Teasing me a little bit.
Going to the boardwalk and you could go on the boardwalk and get a bunch of those tickets to buy crazy dumb things that cost thousands of tickets.
Don't know about that.
Well, they do. There are carnivals and shit. Tickets. You get tickets. You play games, you get Oh, the Henry card. I don't know if Javon's still watching or if he even knows that we're live again. But Javon, if you are, can you figure out how we can do a limited edition card in every 1,000 boxes? If we could do that. If not, we just do a promo card. This is probably what we do. We do a promo card of Henry and we just throw it in one in every couple hundred boxes that we ship. Is it possible to not nerf the Sci-Fly? No. The Sci-Fly is too good. I think the design is that we just make a slight cooldown. So basically he comes out and does his ding, 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 ding. And then he reverts for a few seconds. And he's not there for a few seconds, but then he comes back out and does it again. The item is very akin to the original stopwatch, which is just slow the game down and makes it really, really fucking easy. It's an auto win. It would still pretty much be an auto win, but an auto win with some tension, which is what we want. When will you spoil the rebalance cards? That is a good question. I should spoil them sooner than later. How old are the Binding of Isaac characters? The Binding of Isaac characters are all Isaac, and they're all 5.
Could you tell us about Mugenic status?
Yes. Well, Mugenics is currently being worked on by Tyler because I'm, of course, doing this abomination. It is already fucking amazing, honestly, and I'm not over-exaggerating. It feels like a dungeon crawl in some weird abstract way. It's got the short dungeon crawl aspect, feels really random, and with a lot of strategic combat. And then you've got the broad scope of things where every run you do is building into your legacy, and you're breeding and you're hoarding and you're doing all this other stuff. It is going to be the coolest shit ever, and there's not going to be anything like it except for D&D. I honestly feel like the more time we spend on it, the closer it kind of becomes to a game like D&D or Kingdom Death or Final Fantasy Tactics meets Pokemon. I feel like it's my next Binding of Isaac. And I'll probably never make a game as big as Isaac, but when it comes to that style, I feel like this will scratch that itch for sure. Do you have any plans for Vanilla Isaac? No. Are there any other warp zones that you can confirm aren't happening? Yeah, sure. There won't be a Ren and Stimpy warp zone because that guy did horrible things to young girls
And old girls.
There won't be a Bill Cosby warp zone. There won't be a Hitler warp zone or
Trump.
There won't be a Trump warp zone. There won't be, surprisingly, no Roseanne Barr warp zone.
Oh, wait.
Which I think there should be.
We're not
Will text be reviewed? Some of the cards you've shown are too vague or overcomplicated. Most of the cards that I've spoiled have already been reviewed and actually edited to be very specific and not vague. Tell me the card that you think is vague, and I'll tell you why it's not. A lot of people struggle with the idea. I'll print a card that says, at the end of your turn, gain 3 coins. And somebody will say, do I gain 3 coins at the end of my turn even if I'm dead? Well, yes. Because the card says at the end of your turn, you gain 3 coins. There's never magical rules that are unspoken within the design. So don't ever assume something. Just go with what it says on the card and go with the rules of the game, and it should work out perfectly. That said, a lot of the cards that I've spoiled will be a lot different when you finally get them in your hands. These are the initial designs, and they will be whittled down as we kind of play test or play test in our heads or play test virtually or simply, spell check and word things more specifically. A lot of the time when I do post something and it seems like it could be complicated or confusing, I will look at the comments and I'll see how are people interpreting this, and I'll get a better idea of what is making people confused, and I will fix it. Pineapple on pizza is a big yay for me, actually. I prefer pineapple on pizza for a majority of the pizzas that I like. What made you put Antibirth into Repentance? Really liked what they were doing. When I first saw the mod, I reached out to Vin and I asked him if he would like to work with me on some booster packs, mostly kind of to test the waters. And he did such an amazing job that I entertained the idea of turning it into an official expansion alongside more stuff that I wanted to do. Will you add Repentance or Afterbirth to mobile? No, we will not be supporting mobile at all. Those of you unaware, we did take the time to make Isaac mobile. We put it up and they took it down without giving us a valid reason, and it was just disappeared for a very long time. Randomly it came back. We're not going to be supporting it. It could barely run as is, and not that many people bought it, and I don't want to fucking jump through hoops or do anything else for a company like Apple when it comes to the weird shit that they do and the fickleness of their shit. Any news for Repentance on console? I have heard you will be seeing Repentance on console by the end of the 3rd quarter, which I believe is September-ish. I believe that there'll probably be a set in stone date for it in the next month or 2. Is Among Us canon to Isaac? I would say none of this is canon to Isaac outside of it being a video game. Since it's a video game, other video games exist on Steam. So Isaac is a canon video game. Were the Warp Zone cards drawn or created by my team or the owners? Every single card was designed by me and or 7-Nut, who did help quite a lot with a few of them. I also had to brainstorm with Tyler about a few IPs that I hadn't played, as well as with the creators, just so they didn't design the cards. It was more like, tell me as much about this character and or item as possible so I can understand how I need to design around them. All the art, except for John the Homicidal Maniac and his blades, was done by our team. Does Mom have cancer? I don't think so. Have you completed Isaac yourself? I've completed Isaac so many fucking times. It's all you do when you're testing is beat it and test and test and test. What characters are getting fixes again? I'll post them all. I'll post as many as possible. A lot of the early design characters that do one thing and nothing else are going to get buffed a little bit. I posted a few of those. A lot of them say untap Recharge this at the end of your turn so you can use it on your opponent's turn as a defensive maneuver or screw them over. Maggie got a big buff, as you probably saw. We're gonna buff Kane a little bit and probably write on his card that actually says he goes first. And then there's a few nerfs. You saw one of them. We're nerfing Dark Judas. There might be one more nerf to a card that confusing and OP. I can't remember which one it was though. FTL cards. So at this point, I didn't talk to the FTL people. It wasn't something that was on my list. It's harder with that sort of stuff because it's like I could do like a ship or whatever. It didn't come to mind, so I didn't reach out to them. What do I think about people that pirate the Binding of Isaac? I don't think anything of it. If you live in a country that makes it very difficult for you to get my games, I do not care at all if you steal my games. If you are so poor that you cannot afford one of my games on sale on Steam, I also don't care. Your parents don't let you. They don't let you play a game like The Binding of Isaac or one of my other games. You can't use their credit card or it'll show up. Yeah, I'm also fine with that too. So I'm basically, I don't care what you do with your life, period. It's not really going to affect me much at all. I personally don't think piracy of digital games affects, they affect bad games that you're going to pick up and play and then forget about. But a game like Isaac and most of the games I make are kind of those games that I think that if you like it enough to really enjoy it, you'll probably tell somebody else about it and they'll buy it and it'll kind of make up for any possible lost money. But unless you're just some fucking rich guy who likes to, or girl, who likes to just pirate shit to be a dick about it, which it has definitely happened. I've had people email me and say, just let you know, I could have bought your game, but I didn't, cause fuck you or whatever. Then I don't like you. I understand what it's like to be poor. And I understand that there are countries out there that suck. Okay, first, remember this picture? This is me in my bath. I haven't actually been in a bath since before Peach was born. So at least 6 or 7 years ago. And I think the last time I was in the bath was with Danielle when the power was out and the bath water was cold. Everything was all fucked up. I think our power went out and we just moved into our first house. So it's been a long time. I don't understand why you guys like baths. I hated every minute being in that bath. But I was in it for a while and we did a full photo shoot. Majority of the images won't be seen here. I collected the water and I bring you big boy bath water. This is genuine. This isn't a scam. This is 100% real. I assure you, we recorded it happening. Not only is this real bath water and it's big boy bath water, I will also be drawing a little picture on a sticker and I will be writing each of these individually. This isn't like a photocopy thing. I sign, I date, I number not only the side but the top. See, there's a little picture of me naked. I'm in the bath here too. You can see the suds on my fingers. Little keepsakes for you. I have this one here. Yeah, it's real. You can see the bubbles still. You can still see the bubbles in. See how foggy that water is? Who knows what's in there? A dingleberry, a skin flake. Lord only knows. Doesn't appear to be a visible hair in this one, but maybe some sort of microscopic hair. Maybe some peach fuzz. You could clone me in the future. You could frame me for murder. There's a lot. You could drink it. Don't drink it. I'm supposed to say don't drink it. Don't drink this. It's a biohazard. Come on, big boy. There it is. Look at that. The ultimate. This is the ultimate collector's item. This will be the rarest, coolest, and most neato thing. All the cool kids will be bringing their waters to school and brag about it. And then like if when your rival friend comes over and they have their bath water too, you could like undo it and like splash each other with the bath water. And everybody around you will be so jealous because they did not get this bath water. You could spit in the bath water or even add your own bath water into it and like mix it up. And then it just becomes more. You can't differentiate your bath water and my bath water. And in a lot of ways, it's like we're taking a bath together. I did not fart in the bath. I thought about it. I didn't though. Fun fact, after I got out of the bath, I slipped. And to steady myself, I leaned on the towel rack and I broke it off the wall. Her head's almost as big as mine.
Me too.
Minnie, can you say hi? Yeah. Super Meat Boy for the PS5. I have nothing to do with Super Meat Boy. I have no clue, even though it's a game that I made. Hi. And characters I created. And it was based off of also a game that I made ages ago. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. I do not know what they're doing with it. I do not know what they will do with it or what. No clue. I'm going to guess yes, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to get sued for being misleading. For Mugenics, will you keep the old mechanics of unique mutations based off of different furniture and decorations in your home? 100% yes. That part of the game is the same. The foundation of the game will revolve around a breeding simulation. We've leaned away from having all the simulation AI based. It kind of allows for more wiggle room if we run the simulation behind the scenes and then have events that happen, and it kind of just like pops things up. But all that same stuff's still the same. Like, you're still going to breed cats. The DNA of the cats will translate into the kittens, so we'll have aspects of the mother and father, but not only visually but also stat based and stuff like that. So a good example, in Mugenics, you will take, which we call colorless or unclassed cats. When you take them on an adventure, you will assign roles, kind of like D&D, a class. You will assign a class to each. And you can kind of choose, like, if, oh, this cat happens to have a higher strength stat, maybe they're going to be a fighter or a tank. So you assign the stat, and it gives them abilities, random, from a pool that allows them to utilize this ability in a turn-based strategy adventure that you take them on. If you finish and come back and you've got some cats that are still alive, most of them will die. You do have the possibility of breeding a cat that already has inborn abilities and replacing unclassed abilities with classed abilities as a way to multi-class. So if I had a tank and I ran through with this tank and I made it back home, however I did, I made it back home. I've got this old highly leveled tank that I can't take out again. I can attempt to breed this tank with another colorless cat and have a very low probability of this colorless, of a baby being born that has an inborn tank spell passive ability in it. And then I could class that tank as a fighter or as a cleric or whatever else, and kind of like it's breeding Pokemon. Same fucking deal. As you can tell, I'm very excited about it, and I want to work on it more. If you could release one of the Series P Shy builds from 2005 to 2006, would you? I don't have any access to those builds except for the ones that are up in the files of the basement collection. I appreciate how odd your requests are. You obviously have been digging around in my past. The original build, which would actually be 2003 of Series P Shy, I wish I still had, because that was programmed by Tom Fulp, was a pretty different game as well. But it went through so many iterations. When I finally released it, it was a big disappointment, and I wasn't happy with it. And usually you work on a game for 6 years, constantly change it and redo it, and you release it. It's never gonna live up to any kind of standard. I've heard rumors about you first designing the Spelunky guy. Is that true? I think somehow you're confusing the fact that I designed the character for Braid. I think that's your confusion. I had nothing to do with the original Spelunky in the slightest, but I was the original character designer and animator for Braid. David Hellman later traced over my animations and character designs, but they still look the same. They're how I designed them originally. My version of Tim, he was a little chubbier. When will the Delirium rework release? I have no idea. It's currently not being worked on. We're trying to do other things first. I would like to have it happen, but it might be something that just happens later on in a random update. What does the End is Nigh secret ending mean with Steven? I think in the ending of The End is Nigh, in the secret ending, he's talking about how he smashed his finger in the car door and then, watched it grow back. And he was like picking at it when the bombs were falling. And it's just abstractly telling a story of somebody who was so focused on something so insignificant in their life, so hyper-focused that they didn't realize that the world was ending around them. And then when they finally looked around, everything was gone. That's what it means. A little abstract ending that kind of paints a picture of where Ash is and was or started. Omari or Helltaker Warp Zone. I don't know what that is, so that's a no. Enter the Gungeon Warp Zone. I mean, I know a lot of you guys want it. Who knows? Maybe something will happen. I don't want to get you excited though. Five Nights at Freddy's Warp Zone potential update. There's currently controversy, and there always has been, for Five Nights at Freddy's. For those unaware, the guy who made Five Nights at Freddy's is a pretty far right Christian, which is a whatever for me. I don't really give a fuck, but he would because my game is pretty anti-Christian. So I highly doubt that he'd be down with doing any kind of thing with me. And then honestly, like then everybody would freak the fuck out. You know, I could see other people backing out of it just because he's that type of person. And he's also, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. So confirmed, no Five Nights at Freddy's. Isaac is mostly Christian, is it not? Isaac is mostly Catholic. Yeah, I'd say that the majority of the imagery comes more from Catholicism than basic Christianity. I grew up mostly Catholic, and then my father was Christian, and he is a Christian pastor currently. So yeah, the most of the imagery is a mix. It's a mix of a bunch of things too, because there's also a lot of Mexican Catholic in there, because that's what my grandma was. So there's a lot of like Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Anima Sola stuff. Do you still remember the Badlands and Gish card game? Is there any chance that you can collab with the guy that made Tapeworm and Four Souls to remake the game? The Gish Badlands stuff wasn't actually a card game. It was turn-based strategy game like Mugenics, where you built a deck out of character that would be deployed. I rejiggered that into a game called Host, which I recently prototyped with Tyler, and I do think it has potential. It won't have any Badlands or Gish themes in it when it would be finally said and done, but kind of close. Will you buff Kane and Requiem? Yeah. I believe the current buff, we're buffing his sleight of hand to dig 5 cards deep instead of 3, which I think is pretty fucking great. What's your idea behind Tainted Eve and the Blue Archer? The characters work very similarly, but the Archer is safer. So the reason why that they seem similar is because you're looking at an old card. A majority of the cards that I've spoiled have been redesigned quite a bit and tuned. The Blue Archer got nerfed slightly. Basically, any enemy that has a counter on it gets -1 DC. So the difference between the two is that Tainted Eve can stack that shit up and take down giant bosses by just amassing clots. And the Blue Archer, at most, will only give -1 to any enemy, but has the ability to gain off of the bounties. Will Mugenics have the same kind of music that we've heard? Yes, it will. It will have all the tracks that you heard before, and quite a few more. Why does Kane not start with a lucky foot? Because the lucky foot doesn't make any sense to the mechanic that I wanted to tie to him, which would be deck modification. His lucky foot is represented in the fact that he always goes first. Explain the beast ending. I'm going to explain the beast ending. Okay, ready? So the beast ending is there going to be more Isaac DLC in the future? I'm going to say absolutely not. There will not be more Isaac DLC in the future. No blasphemous playable characters. People seem to assume that I'm disrespecting a game if I don't put a main character of the game in. Not every game character has a mechanic based around them that translates well to the game. Main character from Blasphemous is he's like a hack and slasher. It's not an easy one to design around. And I thought it would be much more appropriate for a game centered around really epic bosses. Do an homage to what the game strength is, which is its boss fights and its boss design. So I thought it would be cooler to go that direction. It's the same thing with Celeste. A lot of people freaked out about that, and they're like, why didn't you do Maddie as a character? It's like, well, I thought it was way fucking cooler to represent what the game's about, which is overcoming bad odds as a bonus soul. I thought that was hell of a lot better and even cooler than if I designed a character based on platforming, which is like, doesn't really translate well. For Repentance, will monsters currently unused be implemented? Are we positive that the alt floor corpse mortis won't be happening? There's a lot of stuff that got moved over that Vin simply was not happy with, and he removed. I'm not gonna push him to add something he's not happy with. If he didn't feel like it was good enough to even show me, then I back him when it comes to that sort of stuff. When it comes to Mortis, yes, we talked about that sort of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the game, if you dig around there enough, that you can see that we are experimenting with quite a few different things. When it comes to bosses, I think the next update you'll see at least one boss that was unfinished pop back in.